And back in the early 2000s, I was moving back towards the divine. I had, you know, early in my 20s and my late teens, I did discernment for the Jesuit order. Decided that family was too important to give up. And I had met my future wife at that point in time, and so I got married and jumped in with both feet into marriage, feeling that that was my purpose and duty. I do believe that was my purpose and duty at that time, and I sort of created white noise in my life and stopped hearing the voice of the divine, stopped listening to my intuition, and life sort of fell apart and collapsed. And it was my ex-wife who said, you always seemed happier when you were doing church. I think you should go back and do some church again. So I went back to my family church where I grew up, which was St. Margaret's Episcopal Church in Annapolis, Maryland. And I was very well received. And I was put into leadership positions, asked to do lots of things. I stepped up and did things, and I indeed started to feel much, much better. I was still doing sucky work and sucky job, but I was trying to do something different. I was starting to do for me after 20 or 25 years of just basically enslaving myself to, make money. And after a little while, my priest and my church leadership came to me and said, we believe you have a calling to the priesthood. Oh, no, I already did that. I did that back in the when I was in my 20s, and I decided not to be a priest. And they said, oh, we remember that. And they said, but Episcopal priest is different than Jesuit priest. It took them a little while, but I finally said, yeah, you're right. Let me consider that. And as soon as I opened that door of possibility, I felt like a train that had been derailed that didn't know it was derailed, and now I was back on the tracks. And I was sort of feeling overwhelmed with what was going on. It was a just rush of emotions. It was one of my spiritual awakenings was happening. I think I'd had several before, but this was another one. And I found myself in the back of the church on a Wednesday afternoon, all by myself, just sitting looking at the altar where my grandmother and great-grandmother prayed and where they're buried. And I heard a voice. And the voice I had heard before. It was the voice of the divine, or the voice of somebody representing the divine, says real simply, who do you serve? I remember, did I hear that right? And did I hear you say, who do you serve? And yet, indeed, that was what I heard. Who do you serve? So I, like a good Jesuit student that I was, because I'm still at my heart a Jesuit, I took monastic orders when I was at Loyola College. So took a vow of chastity, not celibacy, a vow of simplicity, not poverty, and of course we all get the vow of obedience. Though I've sort of shifted the obedience, it's supposed to be to your bishop and hierarchy. My obedience is to the divine and to my intuition. So anyway, so I put to prayer, who do I serve? And I prayed for years, literally, and I slowly got an answer, and I didn't know what the answer meant. And that answer was those whose tongues have been silenced, whose eyes have been shuttered, and whose ears are filled with the dust of the grave.